So TeamSpeak just kind of freaked out for a second, but we're back from a break
Hello, guys.
Hello.
that apparently you guys caught some of, but you're welcome.
We took you on a journey.
A little behind the
Break
curtain.
time.
Exactly.
So, this is Table Flipping Board Games. We just played Sentinels of the Multiverse. If you're watching on VOD, you missed out. There should probably be a separate VOD for the play session. But now we're going to move into reviewing this. So, if you guys are interested in hearing our thoughts on this game, 3 of us were new as well, so you're going to get a lot of new player perspective, which will be really cool too. But just to recap, maybe Game Face Killer, Sentinels of the Multiverse really fast.
Yeah, it is a cooperative game. You don't have to worry about anybody playing against each other, although you do have to worry about the game killing you. There's
Or in this case, 3 of you.
Yeah, exactly. There are 4 or 5 players playing against an AI villain, and there's a lot of huge choices you can see on the table. There's actually a huge number of choices as far as heroes you can play. There's also custom heroes that people have done. And then what's even really, I think, is really ingenious is in the spirit of the comic book universe, there are variant covers. So each hero has 2 or 3 different variant covers you can play with that have different powers. So there's a huge amount of choice hero-wise, yeah. And then the villains, there's a huge amount of choice. There's also custom heroes that people have made and put into the game. And then, of course, you're playing in lots of different environments, which adds a little bit of a variable, as we saw from the various dinosaurs that were shredding us.
Yeah.
And
Dinosaurs.
and volcanoes that we
Yeah.
So when you play the game, the villain starts the turn, and each player takes a turn in a round and in the environment phase. So,
All right.
you want me to say anything else?
No, I think
Okay.
that's good. We are the hosts of this. I'm Gillyweed, this is Game Face Killer, and then Over Yonder's the other host as well. And then DeFebvoir is our guest. We're gonna have a different guest every week too, and she's gonna be our first guest. So thank you. Welcome to the show.
Yay, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about a lot of different facets of this game. So we'll talk a little bit about mechanics as well, and we're gonna talk about new player perspective. 3 of us were new playing this too, and then DeFebvoir is an artist, and so we really want to talk about the art and of the game too, and then psychology of it a little bit as well, and how the game makes you feel. But where you guys? Is there any place you particularly want to start? Is there anything you really want to mention right off the bat?
Yeah, I'll kick this off.
All
So, usually I'll talk about mechanics of games and just kind of how I perceive that the game was put together, maybe things that I noticed along the way. And in this case, this is my first time playing Sentinels of the Multiverse. I've seen it a lot at things like PAX East and actually various PAXs, and always kind of went by it and thought that it looked really cool, but didn't feel like I had the time to learn a whole new board game during the middle of a PAX. So I never actually sat down and play it, is where I was going with that. But it was actually very straightforward to learn, and it seemed like everything made sense except for one thing. The boss going only once per round seems vastly underpowered. Like, it seemed like the boss... So in the final round, for instance, we won because the boss couldn't go. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So to balance that, it seems like they had to make the boss powers much stronger, which for a first-time player made it seem like the boss he's in a kind of a weird spot, right? Because he's both overpowered and underpowered. Like, his abilities made you sacrifice all of your items, otherwise you lose everything. Like, or you just lose tons of health. All of you just get destroyed.
So maybe what you would like to see is more like an Arkham style, or not Arkham, but like where he goes after everyone, but it's less powerful.
I would want to see...
Each turn of his is less powerful.
Exactly. I would want to see kind of how that would play out, because I mean, so you can see in the middle here. I'm gonna do some. Oh, I can't actually
fancy
draw this
footwork.
part. Well, hold on. I'm just gonna use this thing. So you can see like there's so many places here. I was kind of expecting those to get filled up. We used one. Like that was it. So
I will say in all the number
at one point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we had 2.
I will say in all the number of times I've played this was a very low minion round as well. Usually, you've got the defense platform which shield him. Then you've got at least 2, maybe 3 minions. That's about it as a maximum.
Wow.
But still, for us to not really be facing a whole lot of minions, and then on top of that, you have the environment minions to possibly have to worry about. That would have really split our damage a lot more, thus making him a little more powerful, or at least live longer.
Right.
But so it was a strange draw for him as well.
Yeah, because he killed 3 of us. He killed 3 of the 4 of us. So it was a close game, but yet you're right. There were barely any cards. It didn't really feel like we were damage. It didn't feel like we were damage controlling, because it was like a lot of unmitigated. We couldn't do anything to control the damage. It was just take a bunch of damage to the face if you survive, then throw your damage back at him.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't any like counterplay to it. It was just kind of like you fight him, and then he fights you, and then it's whoever ends up coming out on top.
Yeah.
And another thing,
a really good job dealing with everything he threw at us, though.
Right.
You know, the things where we obviously couldn't fight back sucked because they were really strong. But every time there was a minion on the board, we were like, okay, we got to deal with that immediately, or it's going to stack up against us, and we're going to be
I think we were a little like overly scared of that. But Game Face, what were you going to say?
The other downside of that type of situation that came out this time is that any of us that are good at AoE, like Tempest is really good at AoE, and I think to some degree Ra is, and maybe even the Wraith. Anybody who has AoE is kind of disadvantaged too, because they don't really get to show off their strengths when you don't have a lot of minion draws, which is killing multiple targets at the same time, as opposed to dealing a lot of damage to one target.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really difficult game to try to review off of playing it just one time. Because the number of different environments, the number of different heroes, and the number of different villains means that you are always going to have a different game, which in that sense is really cool. You will always have a different game, and that's really neat. Even if you're playing the same villain over and over again, you'll change it up. And the fact that it is a card drawing deck. And you could even play the same hero and have a completely different experience with them the second time. So will make it in that sense pretty difficult to review, but at least it is nice in the fact that you can have a multitude of different games. You can play it many times, and it's always producing out a very different game every time.
Yeah, and this game is really difficult. I mean, I've lost more than I've won, so I was really worried there for a little bit.
Well, something I would have liked to see, I mean, this is coming completely from a newbie perspective, but something I would have liked to see is this is the scenario, like the environment, the villain, and the heroes that a new group of players should play. Because I did feel like afterward that I realized we all did lots of area damage, and it just so happened that we were able to give Defebvre enough like boosts to make her area damage actually, deal lots of specific target damage. But and then, and you got really lucky with taking with drawing, what was that? The Radiant Ordnance? Yeah. Yeah, because if we hadn't had that, we just would have been completely screwed.
It boosted to single target, which was great. Because I think I got to use my multi-target literally one time.
Yeah, and that's the one that we picked when you could pick anything in the deck. You're like, oh, I'm the multi-target one, I'm going to kill everything.
Well, because at the time we had 2 things in the villain spot.
We
had the shield and the little cronies. So I figured, late game we have like 6 things up there. And we never had more than 2.
No. We were just too good at dealing with them.
Yeah. And there are some villains.
Think that's a bonus.
Yeah. There are some villains that have no minions. There's some that have a ton. Yeah, if we played against Omnitron, he would have had a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something that I did really like. Was that the boss did feel like the boss could be very unique, and that everything about how we played this game could lead to a different scenario next time. So like the replayability is really high without just feeling like it's only replayable because of randomness. Like the randomness is definitely there because of the order in which you draw your cards, or the how wrecked you get by your deck, Gilly. But
rip.
Yeah, but like just the pure combination of what the environment's doing to you, what the villains doing to you, and then what heroes you play with each other. It's honestly, it's kind of like a MOBA, right?
Right.
So it's just like that specific combination, regardless of the random factors, is it plays out differently, which is I think is really cool.
Yeah. And you really don't have to draw. As a matter of fact, the game says, don't pick randomly heroes unless you really want to, but there really is no way to randomize it. And the thing I like about the villain that's really cool is his damaging power was destroying equipment, which kind of makes sense. A scientist would have maybe some sort of EMP weapon or something that would be destroying your weapons constantly.
Yeah, I do like that. Unlike some games you play where you've got like a card that maybe describes and makes the game a little bit different for the villain. Otherwise, like everything for the villain is the same. This one, the villain is completely unique in like the minions that they have and the abilities that they can do. It's all completely unique, and I think that really ups the replayability of this game too, which is something that you always have to consider when because board games are generally not super cheap.
Right.
So, Deb, as a new player, what did you think of the game?
I liked it a lot. I had a good time, for sure, playing this so far. I would totally play it again. I definitely liked Sylvie Bay. I mean, great. I thought she was really strong. She totally reminded me of a rogue. I like the comboing of everything. As far as like the art goes, I guess can I touch on that? I liked the art. I thought it was cool. I like that they all sort of had like a slightly unique style. There was kind of an overwhelming style, but then I think all the cards sort of had, some of them were more like environmentally focused, a little bit like Tempest. And I don't know. I really liked Wraith. I thought she's basically like the epitome of every character I love, just combined into one character. So she's a little Tony Stark, she's a little Sylvanas, she's a little Valera. So I'm fully supporting that character decision. Also, she ended up just wrecking, which was like really convenient. But I wasn't really sure how she was going to be because I saw her stealth and I thought she was going to be more sneaky and like a
that's what I thought too.
Yeah, but she ended up as an assassin, which was cool. So that was kind of nice.
You actually never ended up using her own hero power, right?
No, yeah, because I think it reduces my incoming damage by 2 or something, and I never used it. Oh well.
Yeah.
You mentioned the combos, and she definitely did have a lot of combos, which was really cool. And I kind of like that as a from a psychological perspective of playing the game, you want to feel like a superhero. You play this game to be a superhero, and so you want to combo your cards so by the end you're doing these crazy cool plays and I can do this plus this, and I've got a combo mode, which is really neat. It sucks when it doesn't work out for you, but that's just the drawback to a deck game like this. You are a slave to the RNG gods for drawing cards. So if you that's just that is always a downside to this type of game, is that you can totally get screwed. The nice thing is at least you're playing with other people, so it's not like what's the one game where you've got decks in it and you're playing all against each other, the fighting one?
Dominion? Oh no, we're fighting each other?
Where you have 2 decks and you put them together.
Smash Up.
Smash Up. So that really sucks when you get a bad deck because you are also by yourself. Right. So you're not doing anything and you're not on a team, so you're not getting any
You're extra not doing anything.
Yes, you're extra not doing anything. So although you're not doing stuff, which still sucks, you still feel bad, I'm not really contributing too much, at least you are doing small things here and there to help maybe your teammates out a little bit more. I could still allow people to use their powers and stuff. So that's definitely the cooperativeness, I think, does mitigate that feeling of not really being able to do stuff because of the draw. So that was really nice.
That was actually something I thought was really interesting, was that once you die, your powers almost become stronger. The person. So at the end I think we won because we were able to give Deb the ability to use a power in extra time. That was huge. That was an extra 10 damage.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have been able to do that much damage on my own. And because I died, I was actually able to contribute to that, which was kind of strange, but I thought that it was also pretty cool because like you said, it gave you that sense of being able to contribute, even though you're not personally doing so great. So
And
I thought that was cool.
it's very comic booky too. You know, the fallen hero, and then everybody else gets up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Becomes
true.
even
You're like,
stronger.
no.
Inspired.
Yeah.
I can totally do this. Yeah, exactly.
This is Jimmy.
Get inspired. This is Jimmy.
Yeah, that is a really nice mechanic that you still get to be able to participate, because there are a lot of games where you can die and just be done.
Yeah.
And they can
And
go
then
on
you sit
several
there.
more turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we would have. I'm not sure if we would have lost it. If
it would
we
have
had
been
down
close.
one more. Yeah, because I think
Because you're the only one who was alive.
Yeah, I think I had like one card that was a one shot that would have done 2 damage. And we would have like killed him by 1, but instead we killed him by like 4. So
That's true.
that was he's super dead. We double tapped him. Okay?
Extra dead.
Extra dead.
Now make sure he doesn't come back, man. He did.
Exactly.
He did do it already.
Yeah, he came back once.
Yeah,
Colin, can we talk about that?
Two-dimensional
We
card.
we totally missed that when we were reading his description, or at least I did.
I missed it too.
I was just like, oh yeah, we're just about to kill him. You know, we can kind of burn everything on this. I was kind of messing around a little bit at the end there.
Wow, this game's really easy.
I was like, like we got this. We're all still alive. It's fine. Nope, rip.
Lost you at that point. It wasn't even.
I know.
And this is one of the introductory guys, so.
Yeah,
So,
I love that about that card. That it's a double boss fight. I mean, it's like my favorite kinds of video games. You know, like the
but
Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Final
the really
Fantasy.
cool thing is like once you're
you have no idea.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what?
What even is
All my
this?
Phoenix Downs already.
Exactly.
He's evolved to
The
his
thing is,
final
like
form.
once you hit the second stage, though, you you kind of like powered up, right? So you're fighting. It's cool because you have that like. You feel heroic at that point because you got all your cool stuff out, like you're doing tons of damage, and then like the second guy comes out and he's all tough too. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. It would have. I can understand how it would have been neat for sure.
Yeah, so
It was not for me.
Well, the only thing I was worried about is that everybody would have just flipped out because of the fact that they didn't know that from the beginning. But I was like, it's so great story wise to leave it in the dark.
Yeah, it is.
It was good. I got to final dive, so I did one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I'd never
good,
seen
though.
that combo before. That was really cool. You pick up someone and then you threw the pterodactyls like a dart at the bear.
Thunk. Yeah, that was good. So, go ahead.
I was also going to echo that I really liked the art. I think it's fantastic. It looks. I love all of the different like comic book covers and the looks of the cards, and then the game itself is also really neat. Where it's got player. It's like the name tags or like the where you would see the like tags of a person's name or even like a caption. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of attention that went into every single one of these, and it really shows.
Yeah. It definitely it would be so risky. I mean, they were taking such a risk, I thought, creating a superhero game where no one knows any of these characters. They're all completely fictional. And then to make people interested in the superhero game, you really have to pull out all the stops with the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was something I was going to mention. I liked that it wasn't like Iron Man and Aquaman or whatever. Because I think although people would maybe love that if they have their favorites, like, oh, I'm a huge fan of the Hulk, so I'm going to get Hulk stuff. Because I've seen other characters or other games that are like Marvel specific. This one allows you to like make up your own stories. And they've already got the stories. I love that they made stories for each and every one of the characters, but like even we were making up stories like along with the environment. Like we could say, okay, because of this environment, our villain was going back in time to try to kill the dinosaurs, something like that. Like it was really neat. I don't know what is happening here, but
sorry, I broke things.
Yeah, but I think I actually really like that it was not the normal superheroes, and it was ones that we could kind of see. We could kind of figure out their story and what they were good at by just playing their cards and like seeing what they were, like, their role is supposed to be because of their cards. I think it's really neat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is really cool to see brand new heroes that you kind of get behind and start to love.
Yeah, but they still had like the flavor of heroes that we already know, which I thought was pretty cool too. I mean, you could kind of tell who everybody was based on, but it was done in. I mean, the first word that comes to mind is like a tasteful way, but it's done in a way that you know who it is. And you're like, that's kind of cool. I know who that is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's not them. So you still, if the universe that they're in still feels like I want to say like a unified comic book universe, in that they're not just like taking characters that we already know and kind of smashing them together with enemies that are random or enemies that we already know for no reason. Like, I'm looking at all of the Marvel games on iOS and Android. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one downside, one thing I like about the mechanics, or the way they built the game, is you can tell this is a game built by people who understand how card games work and what makes them really bad and really, really good. So they have terminology that is only specific to a very specific thing. So, for example, if it says character card, I had to look that up, and it's like, oh, that's any card that has a double side. So in other words, just the heroes themselves or the villain, him or herself. So there's no vagary about what things are targeting, and everything's specifically stated, which really helps with it. The one downside on the other side of it is you don't always know what your deck is. So of course, like Gilly was having trouble figuring out, what kind of way should I be strategizing, what kind of way should I be moving, and then sometimes there's certain combinations of heroes that just don't work. Like I agree with what Ogre said. We almost had too many AOE's and not enough. We could have used a healer probably.
There are healers?
I would have loved a healer for sure.
Well, the only one that I'm thinking of in particular is I should have played Legacy. I just didn't realize we were going to be taking so much damage. I thought he would have more minions out, so I thought, well, maybe I'll do some AoE since I think there'll be a lot of minions. But
I see.
Didn't happen.
Yeah. So
hard to plan for.
Right. So we actually have a question from chat, which comes from, let's see, I am Time to Hunt. Wait. Oh, no. Jofo's, the one after. So since you played this before, who is your favorite hero to play and why?
Like picking a favorite kid, right?
How many times have you played this?
It's easy to do for me, actually. I've probably played this, I'd say at least 20 times, if not more.
Oh, wow. And you said that this one was pretty unique in that we didn't have many minions come out?
Right. It was very weird.
Of course, the first one that we play like for broadcast, right? It's just like an atypical game.
Yeah.
That's good though, because it shows how much like replayability there is.
Yeah.
Right.
True. Yeah. If he's surprised after the 20th time.
Yeah. That is one of the things about the game that is exciting still is I have no idea what's going to happen, especially because we had never used this combination of heroes either, so I wasn't sure how it would work.
So,
but my
favorite hero, right?
I will say I really like Wraith a lot.
Yeah.
But the last game I played, or maybe it was 2 games ago, I did play Fnatic, and there was a particular card in her deck that lets her sacrifice herself to do damage equal to the damage that she's taken over the course of the game. So you could basically do 30 points of damage.
Oh man.
20 some points of damage, yeah, in one hit. And I played that at the perfect time because I was about to die, and there was no other way we could get the boss. If we went another round of environment and villain cards, we would have died. So it was awesome.
It seems to me like those level 1 heroes, like it's you're going to be able to combo easier, and maybe like the level 2 ones it's a little bit harder to get the right cards to combo. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that might be a factor, and maybe the reason why Fnatic is level 2 is because you are doing a lot of damage to yourself, and so you have to possibly know the game enough to say, okay, I should really stop doing this ability now. I'm too close, and I know there's a lot of cards that can do that, or should I keep pushing it?
I only did it twice, I think.
Yeah, and it was really unfair. I felt like there was a couple of cards that came out. It's like that was the most. There was like a combination of 2 cards that hit the lowest HP player, and that's something else. Yeah, and that's something else that doesn't. That hardly ever happens. Usually, the game does a good job of evening the damage out, so it was pretty brutal to Fnatic for sure for Gilly.
I think if we had had a support, then that would have been completely different.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you could have used your power more often.
Yeah,
and then people could have used their powers more often because you were using your power to give powers. So that would have been that's a completely different game.
Maybe that's also how kind of the level 2 works, is it requires you to have some sort of idea of the game enough to be able to combo heroes a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then
I
just
think turn order is important as well.
Yeah.
Certain people go first.
Yeah.
And then so you can combo off of each other.
That definitely seemed big, because I remember right at the beginning of the game we wanted. Oh yeah, Game Face had a card that allowed us to put the card back on the back on the top of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right, but he was the
last one to go. Yeah, so that card was essentially useless because we would already have done something to whatever it is, or we would have just left it the entire time and not dealt with it. So
yeah, we would have put face damage on the boss, which would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think if you're playing on advanced mode or hard mode, you definitely have to.
There's a lot of stuff you got to consider, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. So
another question, is this PC only? I'm not sure about Tabletop Simulator. This is actually a board game. You can get the actual product board game, which is what we would recommend. But this is Tabletop Simulator. I'm not sure how it.
We can zoom in on Game Face here.
Wait, I'm talking about the simulator though. Is it PC only?
Oh, the PC? Oh, I don't know.
It's on Steam.
It's on Steam.
Right. So it's possible it might also be available on Mac. I can look that up right now, actually.
Dang, I had a point. Oh, what I would like to talk about now is, because we are on Misscliks, and Misscliks is all about uplifting females in the geek and gaming culture. We want to dedicate at least a little bit of time in talking about how females are portrayed, especially because a lot of times they are not portrayed so well in superhero and comic book type things, with regard to things like the way they're treated or the way they're costumed and that type of thing. What did you guys think? I really want to get Game Face Killer, especially maybe first, because he has seen a lot of the game, more of the decks. Is he looking stuff up?
Oh, actually, no. I can answer your question. It is available on. I see a little Apple symbol.
Okay.
So yeah, so it would be available on all platforms, I think, Steam or Mac, PC or Mac. Sorry. So just based on playing a lot, do I think that the female portrayal is fairly even?
Yeah, like
as far as females versus males.
Yeah, I mean, how strong are they? Are they like stronger? You mentioned that Wraith is your favorite. That's a female character.
Right,
She was the one who decimated the enemy at the end. So I mean, it feels like they can be pretty strong.
Yeah,
but in looking at the decks and stuff too, like how they're portrayed.
I really feel like this is one of those games where, especially if you look at the artwork of the cover, there's not a lot of what they call the Brokeback poses. I mean, maybe in some of the
I know
custom
exactly
decks,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, where you can see all of their body parts at the same time.
Right.
The females portrayed on the pictures, at least, especially just looking at the covers, that it's really awesome. You don't see a lot of skin-tight clothing. You don't really see a lot of. They look really, awesome. Like they can just kick your butt around the room.
Yeah, just looking at the Fnatic right now, like.
Like Fnatic is like, it's almost like the Johanna, just fully armored, which is really cool.
I think Wraith has slightly more skin-tight clothes, but not necessarily revealing. But she is like a thief.
Yeah.
Right.
Assassin, so she's got to be light on her feet.
And
but they put her in different clothes for
different
cards, which is cool. They've got the
where she's out
fund one where she
at a banquet or a fundraiser.
The trust fund thing. I forget
trust fund. Yeah. Where
there she is.
Seducing some dude, probably for nefarious reasons. But, and then They had the one where she looked like Poison Ivy, basically. She was like in this green glow and some dark green assassin gear. Pretty. Yeah, but it wasn't like a
very
scrappy two-piece type of thing.
Right.
Like a high heel boot on or something.
Yeah.
So
right.
I thought it was pretty nice. I was
pretty
happy.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that it's not necessarily that they can't have like skin tight stuff. It's just that it matches their role. Like you mentioned, she's a thief. She's moving stealthy, so it makes a lot of sense. Or like
well,
the
it's not
one
just
next
there for
to
no
it.
reason, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The one next to it that's like skyscraper, I think that's next to it. Like it looks like it's kind of like almost a wrestler like type guys next to it, which also like makes sense as well. So as long as it's like there's a lot of variation. There's a lot of variation in body types and
if you look
clothing
at
and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you look at Parse over here, she's really interesting because she's, those seem like very comfortable clothes.
Yeah.
It's so
I was even looking at Alchemist too, which looks really cool. Or Night Mist. She's a couple over too, and that's like super cool, like trench coat. Yeah, I just like that there's a lot of variation in the different.
Yeah. So other than
they have some race representation, and then there are people that are like machines, so maybe species representation.
Exactly.
So I think it's pretty well rounded. They don't just it's not just a bunch of
damsels in distress.
The same person with slightly differently colored hair running around 16 times in a bathing suit.
Yes.
Nice.
And one of the things that I love too is other than art wise, which obviously seems pretty fair and not exploitative, is gameplay wise. If you wanted to make a team of you might have to go beyond the core set, but you could make an all-female team if you wanted to and try to take down evil with an all-female team.
That'd be cool.
Pretty easily.
Yeah.
There are a ton of female decks.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I was looking over the villains. There's a whole bunch of awesome-looking female villains too that I'm like really excited to check out as well. There's even there's a really cute-looking villain. Where is that one at? I was like laughing hysterically. The Wager Master.
Can you ping?
Like how do you ping?
Tab.
Huh?
Tab
key. If you want to show people where it is.
There we go.
Oh, right.
So yeah, but there's also let me see if I can find. Oh, this one looked amazing. Crap. That one looked really amazing. The Dreamer.
So cool.
Cool. So cool. Like this one is like just an office worker next to her.
Information.
Demure office worker, hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome.
She looks really amazing too. Like there's some really cool.
She's got some Cruella de Vil vibe going on.
Yeah,
right.
I like it.
The black and
Yeah,
white.
she might be older, so that's cool. We're getting
I like
the
La
age
Capitan.
range here.
Yeah, La Capitan, and then the Kismet next to her, right there, also looks really cool. And like you said, a lot of different representations of different types of people and races and stuff.
Yeah, there's different body builds in here.
Yeah, different.
It's really very inclusive.
And mechanics-wise, I think that there's never been a time when I've been playing a female character and I felt this seems like a power that they give a female character and they wouldn't dare give it a male character. Everybody seems to hold their own and do just as much damage. The combo thing is cool with the Wraith too because it makes her seem very innovative, like a scientist, brilliant. There's a lot of
Can
brilliance
we talk
behind
about
it.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Her background, the one with the mathematics and the dual mathematics, and what was the other one? Like science or
engineering
degrees was a female. I was like, heck yes! Good choice right there.
For sure.
Deb. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was neat. Glad they did that.
I was really pumped and proud to see that. that. I think that might be my favorite moment, was hearing that backstory.
Yeah.
How do you get the backstory of the people?
It's in the instruction book, but I imagine you could probably look them up online.
People probably write their own for their characters as well.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And that kind of, if you guys don't mind, I could segue into talking a little bit about this article I read that.
Yeah, totally.
Was it? So they did an interview with the creator of the game, Christopher Bedell,
Mhm.
and apparently he has always planned on a set story arc with the characters and villains, and there would be I wasn't sure if he planned out exactly how many expansions he was going to do, but he did have an end in mind. And so coming in 2016, he has the Cataclysmic Final Battle coming out expansion that's going to sort of end the storylines of a lot of the heroes and the villains, and there's going to be a pretty epic battle.
So is there an actual comic book alongside all of Sentinels?
Yeah, that's the cool thing, is there isn't, although he's basically in creating the game, he made a whole timeline of how these heroes interact with each other and with the universe. And so he has it all planned out. That's how he wrote the flavor text on all the cards. And then he also
that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, so he has all these ideas in mind, and he says once we're done with the game, we can basically just sit back and work on the I imagine their plan is to work on the comics. I don't know if they're going to come out with comics or books or whatever, but
no,
that is awesome.
That's a really cool way of doing that, because then it's like
you're already invested in the character.
Yeah.
Exactly. And instead of like if you flip that around and you do the comic books first and then you build the game, it's kind of like the game's an afterthought, and it's like, you know, well, they're trying to milk the franchise or whatever, because, you know, that's just how it's done. But that's a really neat way of doing it, because then it's like you want to find out more about how the characters behave,
like,
why they do
what
what they do.
This guy? You gotta wait like 60 comics until you even get to him, which is pretty cool.
It kind of reminds me of Magic, actually, because in MTG, like, this is the same way with the with all the flavor text down at the bottom. Originally, when I got into it, I thought that the flavor text was just kind of people making up kind of cool stuff to say down there, but then I realized that there's actually all this lore behind it. And then when I've discovered that and went down the giant, you know, wiki rabbit hole of reading all their lore, it's very, very in depth. So I'm sure something similar will happen with this. But that's really cool.
Is the story just in the flavor text, or is it like you've got specific games that you could play that they've put out that are like these heroes versus this villain or something like that?
So I've looked at some of the expansion sets. So this one basically has them meeting for the first time, and it includes the original team, which you've probably heard mentioned a couple of times, the Freedom Force. That's their name.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, Freedom Force. Yeah, and it basically consisted of the Wraith, Legacy, and a couple of others. I think Tempest, and I can't remember who the other one was. It might have been Tachyon. But they started the whole thing against the supervillains, and then more heroes would come with their villain nemesis, and that sort of added to the universe and the fight that was going on. And for example, Legacy, I don't know if you guys remember me mentioning that the older Legacy's not the only one. There's been, like, every kid that happens from Legacy, they'll pass on the powers.
No, that makes sense. Legacy.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you look at the alternate covers of Legacy, you can play alternate players. Whoops. You can see that he has a daughter, and she's the next Legacy, so you could play as her if you want.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she takes over, and then there's another Legacy after that is the son, I think, and he becomes, or maybe it's the grandfather or something, but they become.
Oh, that's crazy.
There's an alternate universe where Legacy becomes evil and he becomes a villain.
What?
There's all kinds of crazy things to do.
Oh,
that's so crazy! I cannot believe the amount of lore and like playability that you've got from this game.
Yeah.
It's one game. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
and so they're doing that, and they also just released a tactics game where you can play heroes against. And now, unfortunately, there's no AI villain. One person has to play the villain, but it's more of a tactical fighting on a map kind of game.
So it's like a different game mode, or
it's a completely. There's no cards. It's all tactical. I think you have.
It's a different game entirely.
Right.
Okay.
I think you have a few cards that you play that have powers and things.
Right.
But most of it's tactical on a map, so you're kind of fighting superhero battles on a map and running around. Yeah. But it's like 4v1, and I think it was Kickstarter funded in like half a day.
Wow!
Holy cow!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a pretty big fan base, I think, for the game.
Well, this is a weekly show, guys, and we'll be back next Friday. So I think at some point in the future we're probably gonna have to revisit this game. I really enjoyed playing it with you guys, and it seems like one that we would probably get a lot more out of now that we kind of know how it works. So
yeah, and you just have to kind of hope, like in my instance, that you get some good draws.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Maybe we can get
any final thoughts from anybody about it? Good? Bad?
I'll say I feel even more positive about it, learning about all the extra thought that went into the character design and just how many more decks there are. It's crazy. Because we only saw a handful of them, so.
Yeah. And that they allow people to create their own as well.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's neat.
I like it a lot. I'm looking forward to reading about Wraith.
Yeah, for sure.
Ditto. So yeah.
I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah, thanks for showing us this game. So
thank you guys for watching as well, hanging out with us. We hope that you enjoyed it too. You guys can find us all on Twitter with our you see below. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Anything else, Ogre?
No, I think that's it. We haven't decided on a game for next week, but we will be back next Friday. Same time, same place, here on Misscliks at, what is it, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific?
And please do follow Misscliks, guys, if you enjoy this. They've got D&D programs as well that are really fun and awesome to see. Those are on Tuesdays. We also have Eye on the Storm, which is fantastic. It's a Heroes of the Storm game, or show as well. So there's a lot of stuff coming out. We even have a cosplay show to Cosplay Cabaret, and there's more to come. So Misscliks is really ramping up. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.